This is the original podcast edition of The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton, now part of the complete Pirates of Wefrevane series. The books are available as audiobooks, ebooks, and paperbacks. This podcast originally aired from 2010 to 2014. Stick around after the story for commentary from me, the author, more than a decade later. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers, a novel of pirates and Panamindorah. Written and narrated by Abigail Hilton. Book 3, Ashes. Warning: this novel was intended for people who shop in the grown-up section of the bookstore. It is not intended for children or young teens. If you need to ask whether you will be offended, you probably will. Episode 11.
Hi, I'm Mark L. S. Stone, creator of the Burning Zeppelin Experience blog, which you can find at burningzeppelinexperience.blogspot.com. It's a blog where I explore being a writer, being a fan of genre fiction of several kinds, and being a role player and a creator of games. I'm also the author of The Invisible Kingdom, a short story which ran recently on the Dunesteve Audio Fiction magazine, a podcast that I absolutely recommend. Previously, on The Cowry Catchers, Gerard, Silvio, and Dakar approach Zorn, hiking in beautiful spring weather. Silvio is no longer behaving like a needy child. He has much of his old personality back, including aggressive flirtatiousness. One night on the beach, he teaches Dakar to dance before she shifts to her wyvern form and races out to sea. Silvio then tries to crawl into Gerard's lap. Gerard is aroused, confused, and conflicted. Silvio asks why they can't have sex, and Gerard can't produce a reason that sounds convincing, even to himself. He finally gives in. The next morning, all of his uncertainties return. However, Silvio maintains his sense of humor, and establishes that their friendship has not changed. Gerard relaxes, a little.
Chapter 31. Good Days and a Bad Night. Gerard was on edge for the next couple of nights, but he worried needlessly. Silvio slept curled against him the same as always. He didn't try to kiss or put hands in inappropriate places, nor did he tease or joke about what had happened in the dunes. The next yellow month was warm and clear, with occasional rainstorms in the afternoon. Silvio remained perfectly behaved and increasingly like himself, giving lectures on random subjects as they walked and practicing his hand signs. Sometimes, especially in the woods, he'd go along throwing his knife at whatever targets presented themselves. He always named the target before he threw. Twice he picked flying birds out of the air, which were then added to the evening's meal. He also cheerfully identified a variety of poisonous plants to both Gerard and Dakar, and described how they could be prepared and what they could be expected to do to a victim. Dakar absorbed this with great attention. She knew the medical uses of quite a few plants, and would occasionally have mild arguments with Silvio about the quality or efficaciousness of a particular medical herb. Felbane had become tame enough to sleep next to Dakar at night. Gerard objected to this at first, on the grounds that Felbane could be dangerous if startled. Dakar gave him a puzzled look.
You sleep with Silvio. He's dangerous if startled.
Silvio thought this was the funniest thing he'd heard all day.
Who knows what I might do if startled?
He kept laughing at random moments until Gerard glared him into silence. One day, they came to a little inlet of the sea, calm and turquoise blue, with small rolling waves. The day was warm, and the water pleasantly cool. Gerard could tell that it was shallow for a long ways out, and he decided to fish. Dakar thought that was a grand idea. Silvio started to wander off along the beach. Gerard hesitated.
Do you want to learn to swim?
Silvio turned with a smile.
Can't I keep any of my illogical fears?
You're afraid of the water?
He shrugged.
The trouble is my tail. It's heavy when it's soaked, and it feels like it's dragging me down. I've been told that if I were to wave it like a paddle, it could probably push me through the water, but instead I panic and start thrashing, and then it just jerks me in all directions. I sunburn without a shirt, and the wet cloth drags me down too.
It's usually easy to float in the sea. If Dakar and I are both watching, I don't see how you can drown.
I'll try. The water's pretty.
It was beautiful. Gerard waded well out from shore, with Silvio on his shoulders and Dakar circling them. She was becoming less shy about shifting in their presence, and Gerard thought that was a good thing. Far off towards the ocean, he could see the really big waves breaking over a sandbar, but around them the water only undulated gently. The sky was an intense blue, and cloudless except for a few high white flecks. Felbane gave an eagle's scream somewhere far above. Gerard was reminded of summers on Holivaris, and right now he hardly cared whether they ever found the Defiance. Silvio got down into the water. It was above Gerard's waist and over Silvio's head at the peak of the swells. Gerard made him float on his back, and he managed that well enough as long as Gerard's hand was just beneath him. Silvio did tend to move his tail when he got nervous, and this had the unfortunate tendency to flip him around in the water. After a while, Dakar came up beside them, water beading and glistening on her onyx hide. She nudged Silvio upright, got underneath him, and then took off at high speed just below the surface. Silvio gave a squeak and then a whoop. Gerard watched them for a moment with a grin. Then he baited his line and started fishing. He let his mind wander, enjoyed the feel of the sun on his back and the cool sand beneath his paws. He caught 2 fish and attached them to his belt, which he'd worn for the purpose. A quarter watch later, Silvio and Dakar came zooming back. Dakar left Silvio in the water beside Gerard and shot off without a word. Silvio was laughing and breathless.
Oh, gods, that was fun. She took me all the way to the breakers and back. She can really move.
And teach. You're treading water.
Yes, she showed me. It wasn't really so hard. I just sort of waved my tail in a circle.
He hesitated.
I'm kind of tired. Can I get on your shoulders, or can you take me back to shore? I'm not sure I can swim that far.
Gerard picked him up and swung him onto his shoulders, dripping shirt and fur and tail. Silvio rested his arms and face on top of Gerard's head, and Gerard was pretty sure he went to sleep for a bit. Gerard caught another fish. He wondered whether Gwaine would find Leopard in the distant Pendulon Mountains. He wondered whether Gwaine would be, as he put it, a prince or a clerk when he got there. Gerard didn't really care, as long as there were ships and beaches and open water. Warm fingers, tracing little patterns from his collarbone to his jaw and back again. Gerard's tail lashed, churning water around him. Silvio stopped.
Making you uncomfortable?
His voice turned playful.
Or just making you something?
Mostly you're making me frustrated, from about the waist down.
Gerard was surprised to hear himself admit it out loud.
Cold water is my friend.
I could fix that.
I'd rather you didn't.
Silvio sighed.
Gerard, sometimes you really don't make any sense to me. You wouldn't respond to me that way if you didn't like me. Your type just don't. And if you like me, I don't understand why you won't let me make you happy.
I don't know why you push for something you don't even enjoy.
I don't not enjoy it. I'm neutral. I don't need it. But I think you do.
And you're the only other adult around, and maybe that's clouding my judgment. Silvio, can you give me some time to think about this? Right now, I'm not sure what I want or what I should do. I know that to you this seems really silly, but can you humor me for a bit?
Silvio ran a hand through Gerard's hair.
Consider yourself humored.
He hesitated.
Bothering you?
He was brushing over Gerard's ear tufts, rubbing his temples and combing through his hair.
That's more of a put-me-to-sleep sort of thing.
You like it? Does it make you guilty?
Yes.
Silvio laughed.
To both?
You can keep doing it as long as I don't fall asleep in the water.
By the time Gerard waded to shore, he was feeling very relaxed. A small voice in the back of his mind complained that his behavior was not advancing the goal of forgetting about what had happened in the sand dunes. Gerard ignored it. He'd had a pleasant head and neck massage and enough time in the open to make him faintly sun-drunk. He'd caught 4 tasty fish, which they ate by the fire that night. Dakar told them she'd managed to ride Felbane briefly as a shelt before he threw her off in the air. A light rain began shortly after sunset, so they went to sleep under their fly sheets. Gerard woke in the middle of the night to a feeling of intense arousal. He didn't know who had started it, but he was already halfway finished by the time he was fully awake, kissing and licking and biting and thrusting against Silvio's belly. Silvio dipped his head, caught Gerard in his mouth, and it was over in seconds. Gerard sat up gasping, shuddering, feeling confused and angry with himself. He flipped over on his side, away from Silvio.
Am I choosing or just reacting?
What had just happened felt a lot like reacting. It certainly didn't feel like love.
Was I thinking about Des? Did he start that or did I? We have got to stop sleeping like this.
Gerard realized after a moment that Silvio hadn't spoken, hadn't tried to get his attention, or even touched him. Gerard risked a glance over his shoulder. Silvio was facing away from him, curled into a little ball with his tail over his head. In that position, he actually did resemble a sleeping squirrel.
Was he even awake? Was he dreaming the whole time?
Gerard rather hoped so. He almost turned over and went back to sleep, but something was wrong. Silvio always slept touching him. Even when he was facing away, he'd inch over in his sleep.
Silvio.
No response. But Gerard thought he heard a tiny sound. He turned all the way over and levered himself up on one elbow.
Hey.
He put a hand on Silvio's shoulder, and now he was certain. Silvio was crying, very softly, his face buried in his fluffy tail. Gerard turned him over and pushed his tail out of his face. Silvio was swallowing sniffles and didn't want to look at him. Gerard felt wretched.
Did I hurt you?
Silvio's wet eyes flicked up.
Afterward, you don't want anything to do with me.
Oh.
Gerard felt really bad.
Silvio, I didn't even realize.
Customers, especially the ones who like to pretend I was a girl, they never wanted to touch me afterwards. They just finished and left, or they wanted me to leave.
Gerard scooped him up.
No, Silvio, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I was half dreaming and I wasn't even sure you were awake, and I was annoyed with myself. I didn't mean to just take something and leave. Especially since cuddle is all you really get out of this.
In a burst of insight, Gerard realized that this was probably the only way Silvio had gotten held as a child. Silvio was still sniffling, and he buried his face against Gerard's shirt. Gerard stroked his hair.
Silvio, I didn't know what to do, and I did the worst possible thing. I'm really sorry.
It's all right. I'm being silly. You can go back to sleep. This is silly.
It's not.
Gerard rubbed his back.
I am not a customer. And you are not this. She actually liked sex. You mostly like what comes before and after. Silvio, please tell me when I do stupid things. You're precious to me. I hate to hurt you, but sometimes you read my mind a lot better than I read yours.
Silvio gave a weak laugh.
Worst possible is a bit of an overstatement. You're not trying to beat me senseless. That's always been high on my list of least favorite ways Schultz respond to sex.
Silvio, I'm really not sure this is good for you.
A trace of irritation crept into Silvio's voice.
I wish you'd stop worrying about what's good for me.
I thought that's what I did just now.
What you did just now was fine until you tried to pretend it didn't happen.
It wasn't fine. It was not my choice.
He took a deep breath.
Silvio, could you try sleeping by yourself again? Until I get this sorted out in my mind. If you have nightmares, you're welcome to come back, but would you try? For me. For now.
Chapter 32. Tired and Angry. The next few days were gray and soaking wet. The air was warm, but it rained heavily from dawn till dusk. Their clothes chafed, and their paws became gritty with mud. It was impossible to get anything dry by morning, even with a good fire. No one talked much. Silvio hadn't argued about sleeping alone, but he seemed increasingly withdrawn. Gerard didn't think he was having nightmares, although the rain beating on the fly sheet drowned out noises at night. Gerard was having disturbing dreams of his own, although he tried to forget them in the morning. They walked, and they walked, and they walked. 6 days later, the weather finally cleared. Dakar told them that she'd seen Zorn from the air. They were getting close. On the first clear night, Gerard found that he could not sleep. He actually missed the sound of the rain. He sat up at last and saw that Silvio was gone, and Dakar was sitting near the fire as a little girl Grishnard. Gerard got up and came over.
Have you been fishing?
Dakar nodded. She looked pleased with herself.
I incorporated my shirt, and then I excorporated it.
Gerard looked appropriately impressed. Dakar had been trying mightily to incorporate clothing for some time. Once, she'd managed to take her boots with her when she shifted, and then couldn't excorporate them for 2 days.
I ate them!
She wailed. When she did manage to bring them back, they looked like they'd been lying in an attic full of hungry rodents for a season. Gerard examined her shirt with interest. It didn't look battered. No holes or threadbare places.
It looks like you did a good job. Maybe you won't have to turn up naked so often.
He said it jokingly, and she smacked his back with her tail, a trick she'd learned from Silvio.
Where is Silvio?
Dakar shrugged.
I think he went to the beach. He doesn't sleep much lately.
Gerard frowned. He should have guessed that. Silvio always grew more morose and ill-tempered when he wasn't sleeping.
I just didn't want to know.
He turned and went towards the beach. Gerard stopped on the edge of the trees and blinked hard. Felbane was standing there in the moonlight, and Silvio within an arm's length of his beak. Silvio was signing with his hands, and, to Gerard's amazement, Felbane was watching with perfect attention. The griffin had been talking in more complete sentences lately, and Gerard had put it down to time spent with Dakar.
I'm afraid you'll fall off,
said Felbane. Silvio signed some more, and this time Gerard heard him. He couldn't see Silvio's hands clearly, but he caught the faint sound of Silvio talking in his own head as he signed.
I want to try anyway.
Silly foxling,
said the griffin. Gerard put his palm to his forehead.
Silvio, no.
He started walking towards them.
Not a good idea. You've never ridden a griffin, and he's never willingly carried a rider. Bad idea without a saddle harness.
Felbane looked startled, Silvio annoyed. Gerard reached them, still shaking his head.
Why didn't you tell me you were trying to do this? We could rig a saddle harness, but without one.
Yap, yap, yap,
snapped Silvio. He signed goodbye to Felbane and started away.
I don't need your help to do everything, Holivar. Why don't you go to sleep? You're good at sleeping.
Have you been talking to him every night?
Gerard remembered Silvio's frenzied activity when he couldn't sleep aboard the Fang.
Well, it's more interesting than listening to you whimper my name.
Gerard was mortified, and then angry.
Don't you dare throw this in my face. You're the one who started it.
He wondered if Silvio had made that up to embarrass him.
I didn't realize you weren't sleeping. You can come back to my pallet if you need to.
What, so you can fuck me and pretend it didn't happen? I can see inside your head, Gerard. I know what you dream about.
Gerard was speechless with fury. He knew what he wanted, and suddenly he saw how to do it. He severed the link Dakar had created. It was easy, really. He just broke it. For the first time in months, he was completely alone in his own head. Silvio gasped. His face crumpled, and he dropped to his knees like a puppet with all the strings cut. Gerard expected him to say something, but of course he didn't. He couldn't. Regret came in a wave. Gerard tried to reopen the link. It was much more difficult than he'd expected. He realized in that moment that the character of the link had changed. It was no longer made entirely of Thessalin's memory. It had, or had, a nature and life of its own. For the first time, he saw Dakar's bridge as something fragile and precious that could be lost or destroyed. After an eternity of struggle, he heard Silvio's voice as though at a distance, coming closer.
I'm sorry.
Gerard bent down and scooped him up. His own hands were shaking. Silvio's voice came in a panicked stammer.
Gerard, can you hear? I'll do whatever you want, be whatever you want. Just don't. I'd rather you hit me. Please, I'd rather you hit. I'm sorry.
No,
said Gerard in his ear.
I'm sorry. I did something cruel, something wrong. Can you forgive me? Please, don't tell me I've nothing to apologize for. I do.
He set Silvio on his feet and knelt beside him. Silvio was breathing in ragged gulps and kept his head down. Gerard tilted his chin up.
Silvio, I'd do anything to take back what I just did, but I can't. I promise I won't do it again.
Silvio's eyes still looked frantic.
Until I say something stupid.
Gerard dropped his own face in his hands.
Silvio, sometimes I remind me of my father, and I hate that. If you can't forgive me, I suppose I deserve it.
After a moment, he felt Silvio's hand. Light. Hesitant.
Gerard.
Silvio wrapped both arms around Gerard's neck and one shoulder. He sounded a little calmer.
Sometimes I remind me of my mother, and I hate that. Gerard, don't cry.
Why not? I just hurt someone who trusted me.
He'll forgive you. He'll always forgive you.
I hope he doesn't need to very often.
Gerard took a deep breath. He was already kneeling. He sat down on the ground and pulled Silvio into his lap. Silvio curled against his chest.
I don't think I've ever seen you cry, except when Thess died.
I did the night I thought you drowned yourself.
The first time?
The first time.
Gerard, I say really stupid things when I'm tired.
I say really stupid things when I'm angry.
They didn't say anything else as red moon set into the sea. Gerard looked down at last and saw that Silvio had closed his eyes.
Are you really asleep? Or are you only trying to make me feel like you still trust me?
Silvio certainly felt relaxed, and when Gerard picked him up, he murmured something unintelligible, trying to talk with his mouth, usually a sure sign of sleep. Gerard carried him back to their camp, listening to the distant susurrus of the ocean and the soft calls of night birds. Chapter 33. Faults. Gerard woke late the next morning. He felt like he'd been chasing his troubles through his sleep all night, arguing with the ghost of Alsair and the memory of his father and Jalil, but, most of all, with himself. The sun was already well up the sky when he opened his eyes. Silvio was curled up tight in the crook of his arm. Gerard could tell by the way he was breathing that he was awake.
Silvio, what are you thinking?
Silvio was quiet for a moment. At last, he gave a little broken laugh.
I'm thinking that I don't know what's wrong with me. What makes me think I have the right to be so picky? I said I'd be your squirrel. If you want to pretend you're dreaming, well...
So you'll let me be just like all the other abusers you've tried to please? Silvio.
I'll take whatever you give me, Gerard. I'll stop asking for more. I know I'm already asking for too much.
Gerard drew a hand across his face.
Silvio, we need to talk.
Isn't that what we're doing?
No. I mean, I've been an ass for the last few days. I've behaved badly. And you're right that apologies are cheap. I need to do more than apologize. I need to tell you what I'm thinking. I'm not always very good at that, Silvio.
Gerard felt him smile.
Not always.
Hardly ever.
You don't have to, Gerard. I'm being too demanding. I'm ruining this like I ruin everything. Soon you won't pick me up or hold me anymore, and
He buried his face against Gerard's chest.
I don't know if I could bear that, knowing I lost it by stupidly reaching for more.
Gerard stroked his hair. It was soft and smooth as silk, warm from the heat of his body. Silvio lifted his head and turned his face into Gerard's palm. It was an oddly elegant gesture, trusting and vulnerable. Gerard felt as though his heart had flopped into his stomach. Silvio opened his eyes and looked at him, those same sad eyes Gerard had seen in Silvio's dream. Gerard pushed him gently back down against his shoulder and wrapped his arms around him.
Silvio, I think non-erotic touch is important to you, and you are making that more difficult with some of your behavior.
Silvio's ears drooped.
Difficult, but not impossible, and it's partially my fault because I won't let you finish what you start. So then I can't think about anything else. That's my problem, but you need to understand it.
Dakar came running over at that moment and peeked under the fly sheet.
Are we walking today? Because it's almost noon.
Gerard sat up.
No, I think we'll take today off.
All right.
Dakar looked pleased.
There are pretty blue shells on the beach this morning. Do you want to make something out of them, Silvio?
Silvio started to answer, but Gerard spoke first.
I want to talk to Silvio this morning alone. I think we might walk up the ridge. Is that all right?
Dakar shrugged.
I'll save you some shells. They're washing away.
Silvio nodded, and she dashed off. Gerard got up and started assembling breakfast.
I would have told you most of my life that I could never get tired of fish, but I am tired of fish.
Silvio smiled.
Thank you for being so patient with me.
I think you're the patient one. I'm a little conflicted, but you're not difficult to love, Silvio.
You're the first person who's ever thought so.
I doubt that. I think I'm just the first person who's made you believe it.
They started into the forest a little while later, carrying water and battered skins from the Hunty slavers. The ridge to which Gerard referred had been building on their left for days. Gerard remembered from maps that it rose in a spine along the narrowing tip of the peninsula. They hiked through flowering, leafing spring trees, through dappled sunlight, up and up. Finally, Gerard said,
Silvio, your maleness is not the only thing that bothers me.
Silvio gave him a look of mock astonishment.
I have other faults?
Being male is not a fault. It's just something that makes it difficult for me to relate to you as a mate.
I know that, Gerard, and I know I'm not easy to love.
You are, actually. You are ridiculously easy to become fond of, and in the right frame of mind, you're easy to be attracted to. But Silvio, sometimes it seems like you have more personalities than Dakar has shapes.
Silvio looked confused.
Sometimes you behave like a child, and I'm not into kids, Silvio.
Silvio winced.
I don't mean you're childish. You're hardly ever that. But sometimes you seem to react to things and cope with them like a kid, and I find that disturbing, not sexy. It makes me feel sorry for you, but it certainly doesn't make me want to go to bed with you.
I suppose it doesn't help that I'm about the right size.
Gerard glanced down at him.
That's why some Shelts like you. You know that, don't you?
I know.
I'm not one of those.
I know that too.
Gerard took a deep breath. This was getting easier. He'd been struggling through it all night in his head.
You've got at least 3 clear personalities that I've seen. The belligerent adult, the confident, joking rascal, and the submissive child. The first is about all I saw for the first year I was in the Sea Watch. I'm sure you were other things to other Shelts, but to me, you were relentlessly vicious, unfriendly, and dangerous. Thess brought out the second one, and that was the first time I got a clear look at what I consider to be you. That's who I made friends with, and that's the person I respond to.
You managed to say that without gritting your teeth.
Gerard plunged on.
In the watch, I only saw you act like a child a few times. After Dakar messed with your head, after you thought the spiders killed me, when you got drunk on Meja Minor. When you're overwhelmed, you start to cope like that. When you lost your tongue, it took you a long time to come back from it. I can understand that, especially since I've gotten a better look at what happened to you when you were a kid. What I can't understand is why you seem to consider this your true self. You've said as much several times, and I don't think of you that way at all.
Silvio had slowed his walking. He put his hands in his pockets. Gerard could tell he was thinking.
Are you aware of doing it? Of flipping back and forth?
Sort of. I understand what you're saying, I just never thought of it that way.
Can you explain to me why you feel like scared little kid is the most accurate version of yourself?
Because the rest of the time I'm holding myself together with both hands. I go out and do what needs doing, and then I crawl into a dark hole and fall apart. I can't even tell you how many times aboard the Fang I worked all night because I was too afraid to sleep. I'd work myself to exhaustion and then crawl into the arms of anyone who made me feel just a little safer. I'd pay whatever I had to pay. That doesn't seem confident or dignified or even belligerent to me. That just seems like a scared little kid.
Gerard shook his head.
I think you're taking your darkest moments and making them the center. I've seen you do things that required enormous courage, confidence, and skill without blinking. You can improvise clever solutions under intense pressure. You speak and act in ways that are calculated to produce the results you want, even when you're falling apart. You certainly let me see some of your less dignified moments, knowing very well it would make me feel closer to you.
Oh.
Silvio's voice sounded wounded.
I didn't.
You didn't make it up. But you did let me see those things when you didn't have to. What was it you said? I know you need something to protect?
Silvio stopped walking. He looked up at Gerard with a pleading expression.
I wasn't trying to manipulate you. I wasn't.
Gerard crouched down and took Silvio's hands.
Silvio, you are legitimately pitiful when you're hurt or upset, and I'm not saying you can help it. I'm just saying I think you know it, and show me because you trust me and because you want me to, well, protect you. I think underneath everything you're still mostly calculating rascal.
Silvio bit his lip and looked down. Gerard tilted his chin up.
I hope so, Silvio, because I'd hate to think I'm falling in love with an 8-year-old.
Silvio's eyes flicked to his face. He smiled suddenly and threw his arms around Gerard's neck. Gerard made frantic noises of protest.
What I just said does not negate...
I know. Just be quiet for a moment before you tell me all the other things that are wrong with me.
Gerard sighed and rubbed his back.
Can I pick you up?
You don't need to ask.
I probably will continue to do so anyway.
I probably will continue behaving like an 8-year-old periodically in spite of my best efforts.
I know. I just wanted you to understand what I'm thinking, and if it helps you understand yourself a little better, good.
Gerard carried him for a bit, then put him down, and they hiked the steepest part in silence, until they arrived, panting, at the top of the ridge. Gerard was surprised to see that the peninsula really wasn't very wide at this point. Far off, in the distance, lower down beside the sea, he could make out the cluster of irregular structures that must be Zorn. Silvio didn't have a Grishnard's eyes, so he just took Gerard's word for it. He did say that he could smell something interesting in that direction. They sat down and drank some water and caught their breaths. Silvio flicked his tail over against Gerard and managed to get it under the edge of his shirt. The fur tickled and prickled along his bare skin. Silvio looked up at him through his lashes.
You want?
I want to finish talking to you,
said Gerard patiently, and disentangled himself from Silvio's tail. Silvio sighed.
So what else is wrong with me?
Gerard thought for a moment.
Silvio, I'm pretty sure that one of the reasons you were able to be friends with me in the beginning is that I didn't want to go to bed with you. I like being your friend. I don't want to be just another of your lovelies.
Silvio looked surprised.
One of?
He thought for a moment. Finally, he said,
Gerard, I want to show you something. I'm not sure I can do it, but I'll try.
He scooted around in front of Gerard, took both of his hands, and looked intently into his face. At first, Gerard didn't notice anything different. Then, very slowly, he felt something growing in the back of his mind. A warm, bright thing, like a candle flame in a window on a very dark night. There was something green about it, too, like a sunlit meadow in a dark, dark wood. It reminded him a little of numeraries around Halivaris, of Thessalien, of the meerkat, of seagrass, of Alcere, of fishing. Those were not the images that came into his head, but it reminded him of those things in his own life.
What is that? What are you showing me?
Silvio swallowed.
It's home, Gerard. That's what you smell like to me. That's your signature scent. To me.
He bowed his head.
The very first time you picked me up, I was home. You could never be one of anything.
Gerard found that he wasn't really interested in telling Silvio anything else that was wrong with him that afternoon. They sat on the ridge and watched the hawks soar overhead. By the time they started back, yellow moon was visible in the late afternoon sky, a nearly transparent disk of beaten gold that grew brighter with sunset. A light in a very dark place. You have been listening to The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton. Copyright Abigail Hilton. Cowry Catchers is an illustrated podcast. Artwork for this episode was created by Sarah Cloutier. To view these illustrations and to learn more about this world and its author, visit the website at www.cowrycatchers.com. This podcast included the vocal talents of
Nathan Lowell,
as Gerard,
Norm Sherman,
as Silvio,
R.E. Chambliss,
as Dakar,
Tim Dodge.
as Fellbane. Sound effects for this podcast were provided by SoundSnap, the Free Sound Project, and Sound Dogs. The intro music for this podcast was Grace by Beth Quist. The outro music is Everywhere, also by Beth Quist. Both were licensed with permission from Magnatune.net. Music for Book 3 of Cowry Catchers included selections from Digital Juice at digitaljuice.com and Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. It also included additional music from Beth Quist, Diana Rowan, and Jamie Saber, all from Magnatune.net. All music was licensed and used according to the terms of the websites. This is a standard copyright now. This podcast is provided for your personal enjoyment only. You can download and archive the episodes for your personal use. You may not re-upload, mirror, or publicly redistribute the audio files, nor can you alter, remix, or create derivative works. And I hope you enjoyed the story.
Sunlight sparkling in the forest, dancing, dancing on the alpine waters. Ride the moonbeam into the galaxy. Second star to the left and straight on and straight on and straight on till when I find
And I'm back. This is 2025 Abby coming to you with some thoughts on the episode. So Mark Stone of the Burning Zeppelin Experience was a fan of this podcast back in the day. I would love to hear how he's doing. I can't find any evidence that his blog or podcast, I think it was just a blog. I can't find any evidence that it is still around in any form. It was actually kind of hard to find any remnants at all, but it looked to me like by 2014, it was pretty much gone. Anyway, if he's still out there somewhere, he's welcome to reach out and say hello. So I had actually forgotten some of the story here that I wrote because it's been a long time. I do feel better about some of the dicey relationship stuff in the story after this episode, because here we finally get some explanations from Gerard about why he is so conflicted. It's not that he is not attracted, which, listening back through the story, it could be read that way. And, you know, if someone is just not interested in a sexual relationship, then they get to say no, you know. That is not what is going on with Gerard. He is concerned about some of Silvio's history and how that is playing into his current behavior. There are many points here where Silvio basically gives Gerard the opportunity to step into the role of one of his many past abusers, because Silvio doesn't recognize any other patterns for relationships. And Gerard consistently rejects those roles, but he also hasn't seen a lot of functional relationships himself. And Silvio is very unlike Thessalyn, which is one functional relationship that Gerard was familiar with. He's very unlike Thessalyn. Thess has some damage, but very different than what Silvio has dealt with, and so he's not quite sure what to do instead. He recognizes that Silvio is willing to plug him into these many roles of abuser. I mean, Silvio isn't trying. He doesn't think that he wants to be abused, but these are just the patterns that he is familiar with, and he is willing to let Gerard don one of those hats and to have the kind of relationship with him that he has had in the past with people who ended up intentionally or unintentionally becoming abusive. So Gerard rejects those roles, but he doesn't know exactly what to do instead. And so there's a lot of negotiating here and discussing, and I am reminded repeatedly that these guys are in their early 20s and still figuring things out. There was a big gap of time between me writing the first arc of the story, which is essentially the first 2 books now, and the next books in the series. And so I was older by the time I came back to write the next books in the series, but Gerard and Silvio had barely aged at all. And so in order to throw myself a bone, in order for me to write characters who were at a life phase that I was also at and that had become more interesting to me, I made the crew of the Scarlet Albatross closer to my age at that point in time when I returned to the story. And I'll talk about that when I come to them. But anyway, I am definitely reminded that these guys are still young adults. Silvio especially basically never had a childhood. He started having to think like an adult at a very young age, and so it feels like he has a lot of history. Gerard, of course, was not forced to mature quickly for that reason, but he was forced to mature quickly as the crown prince of a realm that had had some turmoil, which we'll get into later, before Gerard was born, and his father felt this pressure to quickly groom him for this role. And so in that way, Gerard was asked from a young age to take on quite a bit of responsibility and was constantly reminded of the very large amount of responsibility that he would need to shoulder in the near future. And of course, his marrying Thessaly and running off with her was a direct rebellion against all that, which he had previously just kind of accepted, or at least appeared to accept without much struggle. And then he just fully and completely rebelled. Anyway, those are just some of the things that went through my head as I was listening to this. I do feel like this episode, we have Gerard open his mouth and give some explanation for the way he is behaving that makes more sense of some of his past actions. All right, we have one more episode in what used to be this book, and then we have some outtakes. We have a couple of short stories that are now included in what would be this book proper, and then that will be the end of what is currently the first book in this series. I will see you in the next episode. This is Abigail Hilton, and you have been listening to the Pirates of Wefravain saga. Join me on Patreon for early episodes, long-form interviews, forum access, personal updates, and lots of artwork, including maps and species charts. That's patreon.com/Abigail Hilton. If you want the whole story now with no interruptions and some remastering of the early books for sound quality, you can find the entire series at shop.abigailhilton.com, along with all my other novels. The audiobooks are delivered by BookFunnel. Background music was Hidden Sky by Jamie Sieber, licensed from Magnatune.net circa 2014. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers podcast is an audio adaptation of the Pirates of Wefravain saga, written and produced by Abigail Hilton. Original production copyright 2010. All rights are reserved to the author.